What's up, everybody? Welcome to the pilot episode of By Any Means.
By any
Yeah,
means.
By Any Means. My brother Derek. I'm Kelvin. I'm sorry. I'll let you introduce yourself. Go ahead, bro.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Derek Taylor, proud member of the crew for By Any Means. Get ready for a wonderful show. We're going to discuss a lot of things to move and push us forward.
Absolutely. And I'm Kelvin Terrell. If you know me from my acting days, and if you know me, then my name is Kelvin Cook. But you know how stage names go, right? It is what it is. I promise you, if you see Kelvin Terrell or Kelvin Cook, it's the same person. I can show you my passport, my driver's license, whatever you want to see. I promise it's me, okay? But I'm gonna get a little. Get right to it. You know, we just had these.
Get in there then.
We had these protests, right? In regards to the murder of George Floyd.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of protests, a lot of peaceful protesters out there. But you know how it goes. Whenever there's an opportunity to kind of hijack a conversation, there seems to be a lot of people that are more than willing to jump into it, especially when they it's like they're ready to jump in and take advantage of the situation. Yeah. So yeah, man, for me, like, it seems like by any means for a lot of people means, just go and mess up whatever you can mess up, and it's their fault. So I mean, how you feel about that, man? How do you feel about rioting? Peaceful protesting is one thing, but how you feel about rioting? That's what I want to know.
It's an interesting dynamic, my brother, because I personally do not condone, if you will, the violence and the looting, but I understand the by any means concept behind it. Yeah. No matter whether it's the people that are inciting the violence, committing crimes and looting because they truly want attention and want to get something out of that as opportunists, or whether or not they're really doing it because they think they should be doing it to actually push the change. Because I think there's an interesting dynamic between those people. You have people that are literally doing it because they want to cause the noise so that they can gain and garner attention back to the subject. But you also got the opportunities that are just doing it just to do it.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Do you think that change can be effected without the looting is the question? And does it hinder the progress of change, the progression of change, I'll say?
For years, for centuries, minorities, more specifically the Black or African American diaspora, that group, that demographic has been pleading, asking, wanting, talking. We've been silent. We've done it all. And some people heard, but many people dismissed. How long can you be dismissed by your subtle, professional, appropriate approaches to a real issue? We've been the docile, meek and mild people, and it hasn't pushed the envelope enough.
Yeah. So I definitely understand. To your point, right? Looting, violence, all those things. It's not good. But my thing is, it does more harm than good. Mainly.
Yeah, elaborate on that.
Yeah, so it does more harm than good. I say that because it gives people, outsiders, right? The people who appreciate the status quo, right? Who benefit from the status quo.
Yeah. What you about to say? It gives them a reason to be like, I told you them.
Well, okay, so yeah, that's exactly what it is, right? So and not just that, right? there has been several videos the past few weeks of people who don't look like us, let's just say it that way, who are really the main perpetrators of the riots, you know what I mean, and all the violence, and all the vandalism that has happened.
I call them super opportunists.
Right. So it's like for me, it's not good. But to your point, I understand it, right? It's like, for example, if you spit in my face, you can't get mad if I knock you clean out. You can't dictate how I'm going to respond to you. You know what I mean? Like, you can't tell me how to respond. Is it, did you physically hurt me? No, but you spit on me. Where I'm from, that's the ultimate form of disrespect. Like, I'd rather you slap me open hand. Don't get me wrong, I still might knock you clean out. But at least I won't feel so disrespected while I'm knocking you clean out. But either, the point is, like, I don't condone violence, guys. I don't fight, at least physically, right? Mentally. I got to put that out there.
Biden me.
If you're not threatening me physically, you know what I'm saying, then I'm not gonna, this is not type person that I am. But
nonviolent.
I will protect myself. I'll tell you that, and my family and my loved ones. You know what I'm saying? I'm anyways, point is, but you get it, right? You can't dictate how I'm supposed to respond to your disrespect. Neither can you, just because you apologize, can you expect me to, accept your apology? You know what I mean? Like, you suffered the consequences. You don't get to ask me to apologize for how I responded to you and your disrespect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with the rioting, right? Like, we've been killed, murdered, over and over again by police officers in the country, and nothing has changed from a policy standpoint. There's always a little bit of a flash that happens, you know what I mean, while it's in the media, but then the conversation dies down after a couple of weeks, and then we go back to, business as usual until someone else gets killed by the police. So there's gonna have to be a different approach, right? So we can't be out there, messing stuff up. That's not what I wanted to say, but we can't be out there messing stuff up, if we're trying to change, for example, the education system in the country, right? In this country, or if we're trying to change the economic disparities between, people of color and, the majority. Are they in the majority at this point? I feel like
that's an intriguing question, because some conspiracy theorists are saying that's the root behind I'm quoting Van, what's his name? Van Jones.
Van
Jones, essentially, from CNN, had once said, "Hey, I think circa 2016 last election for president this is a white lash. This is a white lash." Yeah, he said that. And, that's kind of at the root of the political changeover in 2016. It's kind of been the basis of one's campaign.
Right.
But some would say the majority may be questioning their legacy.
You're right.
Based on the numbers right now. Talked about in the mid, or at least inside of the 20th century, in the 1900s, right? You had redlining, and most people think of redlining being strictly residential, right? Real estate. It's not just real estate. Like, that redlining was purposely done from an economic standpoint. Economics is at the root of it, but from economically, everything was affected when you redlined. You had real estate, which is a safe investment option and gives you potential generational wealth, right? And then you also have business opportunities within those areas that were redlined, or not, whichever side of the red line you were on, right? But then the educational system was also affected. So you got redlining affecting literally money, housing, jobs, and education. And people ask, well,
And health.
why haven't you all picked yourselves up from your own bootstraps? Because you made it impossible, virtually impossible for us to do that.
Right. And health wise too. You know, it's no accident,
yes.
it's no accident that black people suffer from so many different diseases like hypertension.
Yeah.
You know, why it's prevalent in our community. When you think about the types of grocery stores that are around where we live, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Think about food deserts. You know what I mean? And why you can go to a. And here's the craziest part about it. Like, I like Wegmans. I like going to Wegmans. Wegmans has a great variety of produce and like just meat and just everything. And it's
Oh, you fancy. Oh, you fancy.
But look, but no, it's not even like the prices are astronomical. Like, yeah, they have
there's a range
price items, but a lot of their stuff is reasonably priced.
Yeah,
so
there's
it's
a
like,
at Wegmans.
Yeah, so it's like
it's not Whole Foods.
yeah, it ain't Whole Foods, but look, but no, it's like then you go to Food Line, like, because I just moved, you know what I mean? So around the corner from my house, down the street from my house, there was the Wegmans, right? Down the other street, it was the Whole Foods. All right, cool. I moved now. All I see is Food Line and Aldi.
Yeah, where you are. Yeah.
Right. And so I go in the Food Line, and I'm sorry, I'm not trying to trash them or nothing. I'm looking for some corn to throw on the grill. It's only like 12 pieces right there, and it's black. Like, I don't want no black corn. Not before I put it on the grill. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a problem.
Just an FYI, Food Line has been huge in Virginia. I'm a native Virginian, so I support Food Line.
Look, it's a pandemic out here, right? So look, I get it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get times are different. I might have gone on a bad day, but the selection wasn't that great. It was like one corner of the grocery store. It wasn't a lot of produce in there. Mm-hmm. And my brother swears by Food Line, man. So I get it. I don't want to say Food Line is terrible, but what I want to say is that I have a preference.
And guess what, my brother? You might have an Aldi and a Food Line right next door, but just 10 minutes away, you're saved. You know why? Because there's a Wegmans.
But yeah, that's 10 minutes up the road, and I gotta get on the highway to get there.
And so, with what you have expressed, are you telling me you're not going to drive 10 minutes?
Of course,
more than your 1 minute to go to work.
Of course, but it's just what bothers me is just the times when I'm trying to just go pick up something real quick.
Oh, God, I'm inconvenient. You fancy, huh?
Nah, man. I don't know, man. My dad was a chef, so I gotta have things a certain way. But I don't know. So for me, it's just like health. I get that it's it's no coincidence that we suffer from so many different things. Because we only have access to certain types of foods majority of the time. Things are kind of changing a little bit.
And we got away from our own, and people think this is bad, but our own demographic or diaspora, like we had our group. So we had farmers markets, we had farms, right?
Yeah.
We all farmed. I'm from a rural area in Virginia, so everybody farmed something at their house. And then you had a bigger farm that people would supply from a farmer's market perspective, if you will. But we've gotten away from that. So now we're subject to what? Corner stores and mom and pop shops, or Food Line, if you will, Kelvin.
Stop. But no, listen, I want that. So if you know of a good farmer's market down here, let me know, because I'm trying to go.
Yeah, there's one in Dale City. Yeah.
I want to go. But yeah, I mean, I listen, I'm even thinking about buying a little, starting a little garden out here for myself, man.
Yo, I think that's the new wave for a lot of us.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say, like, I have friends of all races, all colors, all creeds, right? But and I think it's permeated across this generation. Like we're all thinking about doing so, at least growing something in our yards, right?
Yeah.
But definitely, as I'm seeing that spike within just the Black community as a whole too. That we're starting to build planters boxes, or we're starting to
Mm-hmm.
till our yards in the land to actually start growing things again. It may not be everything, but we're growing peppers and vegetables or fruits. So I think there's a definite uptick there, and it's the new wave, and I appreciate it.
Shoot, maybe the answer to all of this racism and systematic injustice and all of this types of thing is to shrink our spheres of influence, our lives. You know what I'm saying? Like right now, we order so much stuff that comes from God knows where and
Yeah.
has all types of you know what put everywhere and is doing all kinds of things to your body and your mind. Like I feel like part of what needs to happen is we just need to get back to being little small villages. You know what I mean? And not depend on. That's the biggest. I think that's one of the most irritating things about. One of the things that irritates me the most is I feel like we depend on elected officials to do way more than they were ever intended to do, and as a result, they have so much power over or exude so much influence over what happens in our day-to-day lives. I feel like if we shrink that and depend on one another, if I'm great at growing cucumbers and you're great at growing tomatoes, then maybe we can go back to the old, forget the dollar. Let me just give you 3 cucumbers for 4 tomatoes. You know what I'm saying?
Let's barter with product.
Yeah, let's barter with yeah,
Yeah.
like products and services. Like, all right, bet. You need your fence done. All right, cool. I need a new toilet. Can you do that for me? You know what I'm saying? Like, I
Yeah.
feel like we need to shrink kind of what we depend on others to do and depend on build relationships with the people in our closest vicinity.
Mhm.
You think about police brutality. If you know that your neighbor is the you know neighborhood watch whatever and they're cool and you watch their kids on Sundays, then you're not going to want to break into their house. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if I don't have to go away. I don't know. I guess I said all that I wanted to say. I just feel like we just need to shrink and consolidate and be more dependent on like our close knit, like a little village.
Yeah, I'm with you. You know how
Yeah.
I characterize it? Like one of the things, I've really one of the take some of the takeaways that I've gained from this whole pandemic and quarantine environment is that hey, it's getting us back to what's simple or the simple.
Yeah.
And
Simple.
that speaks to what you're talking about, the shrinking of our minds and the shrinking of our environments, if you will. Um, Getting back to just the simple things, and that's whether that's
Yeah.
family, and whether that's family inside your home, but then also family within your community. Uh, Getting us back to home, taking care of our homes, taking care of our yards, just those simple things. Appreciating. Sometimes I go outside, man, and I hear the birds. And I always did this anyway, but like now it's almost it has greater meaning too because I'm like,
Right.
wow, look at nature, look at nature. Like I have more time to even look at nature now than I did before because now I don't have my commute to work or my hours at work. And then stressing when I get home. Like now I can literally have more time to just take a moment
Yeah.
and just breathe.
For sure, man. And it's like I don't I'm not traveling as often as I used to. So now it's like, dang, I haven't talked to, my boy Derek in a while, my brother Derek in a while. Let me hit him up real quick. Let me shoot him a text. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Just that
yeah,
type of stuff is like, hey, you don't realize how much you miss people sometimes until
yeah,
you have to sit your tail down somewhere
yeah,
for a
yeah,
minute.
yeah.
You know what I
We
mean?
it's put us back to this moment of being intentional.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
exactly, exactly. And I feel like that might be the part of the way we solve a lot of what's going on in society right now. The other
Yeah,
part is economic equality. I'm passionate about economic equality, bro. I feel like
yeah.
the for I'm foreshadowing a little bit, and I
Well,
don't give away too
uh-oh,
much. but I just feel like the banking industry is primed for disruption, and um, as with a lot of different industries, but most first and foremost the banking industry, because I just the way the system is set up right now, the more financially distressed you are, um,
The more you're
less
exploited.
the less resources you have, right?
Yeah,
The larger your monthly payment, if you can even get a loan.
yeah. The more you exploited, you're more,
Yeah, yeah,
the less you
yeah,
have, the
yeah.
more you exploited.
But you got a nerve to have "In God We Trust" on the back of your bills. I mean, come on, come on. Is that the way? Is that, you know what I'm saying? Like, is that the way we're really supposed to be running our society? And I feel like we as a country are going to have to answer to that if things don't change in a hurry. So, I want to be a catalyst for that change, because the money controls what happens in this country. To your point, we talked about this earlier. The money controls what happens in this country. So if we can put more money in the pockets of the people, then the people can actually influence the way this country is ran. And look, based on our conversation earlier, especially about budgeting, sitting here sounding like Republicans, right?
We're conservative. We're conservative.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like everybody has conservative principles. Everybody understands basic
Exactly.
budgeting. When we, going back to the whole trade deficit and the debt conversation, like we all agree on majority of things. It's just those little bit of the few things that we are most passionate about. They make us argue over, and they never really want to fix it. Because they would
Because
lose that power as a tool, and which again goes back to our title, right? By any means, and why I think the looting and the vandalism and stuff like that isn't necessarily a good thing is, because I believe that racism is a tool that is being used. Is it real? 100%. It's 100,000% real. It is.
It's been made to be real.
Right, but it's a tool that
Yeah.
is being used in its current sense, not back in the days of slavery,
Well,
but
it was also used then.
yeah, it was definitely a tool.
Because I know where you're going. It all ties back to the dollar. It's an economic game.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I feel like, if we solve the economic inequality in this country, then a lot of the other systematic injustices that exist, whether it be, we've named them. I'm not going to name them again, but um, I feel like we solve the economic inequality issue, then all of the other issues with the proper execution and strategy will fall into place and be solved as well. And, to your point, you back a possum into a corner, it's going to play dead. But if you keep bothering it, it's eventually going to turn around and try to bite you, right?
Yeah.
So this might be the
Yeah, how many times can you turn a cheek? But
yeah.
you're hitting on a point. Ooh, you're hitting on a pain point, a sore point, boy. I tell you. Ooh, you're talking about group economic empowerment. And I think that I've been critical before about some of our ancestors or those generations before us and those in the civil rights movement, because I feel like some balls were dropped
Right.
post civil rights or human rights movements, and I think some of that was purposely done or perpetrated by the powers that be, starting with the killings of those leaders. Because I
100%.
think just imagine, just imagine people really be talking about MLK and Malcolm X and say, "Oh, they're so different." There's a are they? There's a gray area.
Right.
Neither one of them were perfect. One was on this spectrum, more on this side of the spectrum. One was more on this side of the spectrum, but they had a gray area. A lot of, like we just talked about. Most
Yeah.
people agree about 98% of the things. It's just the fringe items, right? So some of those things were them coming together physically, but then also through thought and principle about the dollar. I think they knew they were onto something about that was going to disrupt or be a disruptor to the
Mhm.
economic power. Because once you started to gain more of the human rights right? Once you
Mhm.
start to gain some of the civil and human rights, then what's next? So they already knew, like in Tulsa, they knew that
100%. Oh
what we
man,
could do. They knew what we could do.
please don't talk about
They knew
those.
we could build our economic power. And look at it now, like even with us not having the economic empowerment because we're so disjointed and disconnected, like we still have the largest buying power. Just think about that. We don't even have the most money, but we have the most spending power.
I
So
don't know if
now,
that's a good thing.
yeah. So
I
imagine,
don't
and
know. If it's a-
huh?
I said I don't know if that's a good thing though, man.
Oh
We
no, 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 no,
going
no.
fast.
I'm not rising. I'm not raising it as a pro.
No, no, no,
I'm
no.
just identifying the
It's a
gambit of
fact.
it. If you
Yeah,
think you've hit this point too before in our conversations where you said, "What's the plan? What's the agenda? What's the plan of action? How are we going to execute it?" And from an economic standpoint, it's like, okay, well, are we targeting the right problem? You said this and alluded to this
yeah,
earlier.
yeah,
If we were to one set up our structure, this is what you identified, is the infrastructure in place? Like if we were to, if right now in this moment, right now in the midst of everything that's going on, in the midst of this chaos, I know some people have been pulling their funds from the larger scale big business banks and putting it into black owned banks, right? So if we were to do that, do we have the infrastructure to move all of our funding? And this is why I mentioned about the power, the spending power that we have. We have money. We don't have the most money, but imagine if we pooled all our money together. And do we have the right infrastructure in place to pool all our money together? Meaning, okay, buy back the block. Okay, start our schools or redline our own selves or blackline, if you will, blackline our own selves in
I
our
like
community where we have our small to big businesses that we're creating. So
yeah,
if we have the money that we have and have our areas, um, physically and otherwise, that we're putting or funneling our money together, that builds our economic empowerment. That's what they don't want.
right,
That's what they don't want.
right. And that's the biggest problem right now. I feel like if I don't know this reminds me of the whole reparations speak.
That's why they don't want to give us reparations because they
Don't not
well,
right now.
part of it, part of it, part of it.
Not right now. I look as a black man. Yeah, would I like
Three
you
hundred k.
$300,000 real quick? Sure, I'd like it. I know what to do with it.
Yeah,
However, there is
everybody doesn't, but
a
everybody.
large portion of our community who has no idea what to do with that money, and they're gonna wind up giving it right back in the form of purchasing Ben's
Is.
beans and beans. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Bentleys.
there you go, Beamer, Benz, and Bentley. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, 300 ain't might not buy you a whole Bentley, but
Yeah,
you know,
he'll buy you a tire.
you know what I'm saying? Um, but you get my point. Like I feel like we just give it right back. The infrastructure is not in place for reparations right now. I feel like the best thing we could do for ourselves right now is to get rid of, first of all, use for solve the economic inequality issue right now. After we solve the economic inequality issue, something happens when you ain't got to worry about having a roof over your head, right? Or food on your back, or clothes on the, or food on the table. You know what I'm saying? Like something happens, you become if you're a parent, you become a better parent, more attentive to your students. I mean, your kids.
It's less
You know what I'm
stress.
saying? If
Stress.
you're right, if you become a better worker, right? Co-worker. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
You're more focused. Your kids become better students. They get better jobs. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
They get themselves in a better position. You see what I'm saying? And
Yep.
you start paying attention to issues that actually affect your day-to-day life, which means you actually may do your research when it comes time to vote for local, state, and federal, elected officials.
Yep.
So for me, I feel like everything starts with economic inequality because then we can put ourselves in position to actually be those decision makers. You know what I mean? Which if we can do that, we can be in those positions. We can create better, a more fair and equitable education system.
Let me
You know,
turn it. Let me spin it for you though. Let me spin it for you.
go ahead.
imagine, business funding, business finance, right? Um, you have earmarked funds
100%.
where you essentially mark or identify or categorize funding where it's going to go. It's part of budgeting process, right? Um, Imagine we did if reparations were issued and we did receive them. However, it was earmarked appropriately, where yeah, you got your everybody will get this certain amount, but maybe hold off on that. We're gonna let that sit in escrow. We're gonna
Yeah.
invest it a little bit. Like we're gonna sit that here, like in the banks. What the banks do, they take your money and invest it, right? So let that money sit. That's for each individual. But let me take a portion of that and put it to what you're talking about, which is Maslow's hierarchy of needs in a sense. Like, okay, let's fix housing for these people. Let's give them housing. Let's improve their housing situation. Let's improve their educational systems. So let's fix their schools. Let's fix their infrastructure, meaning like Flint with these
Yeah.
rusted pipes. And that's not just Flint. That's across this nation.
Right.
People know that know me. I've had a big issue with how we have avoided the infrastructure resolution and improvement here in this country. Like everybody want to talk about immigration, big issue, but immigration or religion and faith or all these other things, right? But we don't want to talk about infrastructure, actually do something about it. Because I don't want, this is what I don't want. I don't want to be riding in the metro one day and these tunnels break, or driving through a water tunnel, a bridge tunnel, and that thing collapse or anything, and I'm underwater, or driving on a bridge and it collapses, which has happened in the 2000s because our infrastructure is horrible. Like, where are the speed rails?
Yeah.
Like our infrastructure, but that's on a national level. But like, just break that down to the local level for these impoverished Black communities that we both come from.
Right.
It's the hood or the country. So
Right.
give them, fix their schools, pay their teachers more.
Preach to the choir, brother.
Like what if the reparations were used that way, or funneled or earmarked towards education, policing, and I'm going to say it. I was skeptical there, but policing, and a part of that is having your community police itself. So community policing, but then also having your community people be actually police officers in the community.
Exactly.
So policing or the law enforcement, the education, the housing, the food.
Right.
Like if we were to earmark the reparations towards that.
Come on, man. Like for real. Like 100%. Like there's I'm gonna stop saying brands because I don't want to.
But these brands are more than welcome to sponsor us.
Right. But I don't want to. Okay, so let me. Yeah, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. But so there's one thing to earmark those funds. Set it in escrow and then roll it out one by one.
Mm-hmm.
But shucks, man, like there's an argument to argument to be had for, well, this, like the struggle was done to my family individually, so why don't I get that money individually? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think I heard somebody say, well, I think it was Charlemagne said they're asking for like $14 trillion.
Mm-hmm.
Divided up amongst the people as reparations, you know what I'm saying? But so I mean, I get it. But and then we'd also have to make sure that all of the jobs that are created as a result of repairing the infrastructure, for example, will have to go to us.
Yeah, no, you're right. That was just in my head too, because we
talked otherwise they'll
We talked about housing, we talked about food, we talked about policing, we talked about education, but there's also small business and big business creation or loans. That's it has to be a part of that. Like when we create, if we're gonna in the hypothetical environment or situation where reparations would come and we'd have earmarked amounts for individuals that's sitting in an escrow or whatever, what have you, accounts for investment purposes, right? And growth, asset accumulation, fund accumulation. But we have as a whole the group where group funding is specifically earmarked for that. Small business, big business creation and loans, your education, your policing, your whole community is building reparations directly to building your community. Bottom up, top down.
I like it.
But
you know what I think might work. I think if you have that money, if you get everybody gets a certain amount, say it's a 300,000, right?
mm-hmm.
You can use it in one of three ways.
Okay, I'm listening.
I think housing,
mm-hmm.
education,
mm-hmm.
or business loan, or a combination of the three.
Yeah.
I think though, if you put that type of stipulation on it, we could then
do right by the money.
You know what I'm saying? Like put ourselves in position to actually gain that generational wealth. You know,
yeah, think about it. What you're essentially illustrating or identifying is spending requirements, and that's like social services. Social services. I mean, I don't know about you, but I was on welfare growing up, so we had.
Unfortunately, I mean, we never did, but.
Yeah. So I mean, that's how bad I had it. So
no. I mean, we could have, but we just never did. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But I mean, single parent household, struggle.
Nah, I feel it.
Like we had that. We had, and the premise I'm trying to get to is what you're talking about is directly managing how the funds are distributed and also spent or executed. And that's the same thing that social services does with like their housing stipends or their food stipends. So yeah.
I think it will work, man, because like if you think about the 300,000, I mean, home, like using the money to buy a home, is that not what what became known as the FHA did for white individuals back in 1934 when it was created? You know what I mean?
Mainlands, the Midwest,
houses that they couldn't afford, whether you can afford it or not. Here's a house out in the
Here you go.
Like, okay, fine. Afford us that same opportunity. So housing but that's the largest source of wealth for the majority of Americans is their home, right?
Yep.
So that's one. But then you think about education. If you want to use the money for a free education, if you got the grades for it and you can get into an Ivy League school and graduate from Georgetown with a 3.8 with no debt, coming out of school with no debt. Do you understand what position I would be in if I came out of Hampton with no debt, brother? You know how much money I could have kept on a monthly basis? I don't think you understand. So using it for education and you actually get an education in a field that's in high demand, like one of the STEM fields. You know what I'm saying? Like you could really do some really good, not damage in a bad way, but damage in a good way. You know what I'm saying? Like you can really do something good for yourself. And then when you think about starting a small business, I mean, look, we live in a capitalistic society. America is built on capitalism. So other than the backs of slaves, America is a capitalistic society. You know what I'm saying? So, if you have a great idea that's going to change the world for the better, then why not? Why not create more jobs, right? You're being a productive citizen at that point, right? So yeah, I mean, I think those would be like, if we're going to do reparations, it would have to be with some stipulations. Like you can't just go out and buy a freaking Maserati with this money and a Rolex. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to do something that's going to put yourself in position to take care of your family for the foreseeable future. You know what I'm saying? Or at least give you a shot at it. It might not work out for you, but at least you try it. You know what I mean? And gain some experience from it. So Yeah, that's why, I made a post on Instagram the other day and I said, shut up about reparations right now. We don't know what to do with it. But if it was structured, so I got to kind of eat those words a bit right now, because if it was structured like that, or, and you actually got me thinking about that when you said earmark those funds. But if it was structured like that, then I could get with the idea of
Yeah,
reparations. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah. Because that way you would be laying the law or enforcing the use, as opposed to the misuse
Yeah,
that we know would happen or the risk thereof.
right. From a lot of us. Even I mean, I wouldn't even do the stock market. Like, you want to invest in somebody else's small business, sure, but I wouldn't even allow people to dump it into the stock market, because if you're not knowledgeable
It's
about,
volatile. It's too volatile. Yeah,
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 it's like you wind up losing that money.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I guess I could get down with reparations from that standpoint. And look again, but going back to the title, I don't know if the how we raise our voices and confront systematic oppression, how we actually confront systematic oppression matters. So I feel like we have to be really careful about moving forward about how we address the different issues, that we want to see changed in this country. You know what I mean? We can't. I think the days of peaceful protest walking through the streets might be numbered, to be, if I'm being
Ah,
100% honest.
you about to, you taking it somewhere. I don't know who I was talking to. It might have been you, but or it may be a myriad of people that I've been speaking to through my social media posts, or
Uh-huh.
also conversations that I've had while we're just at home, essentially. But that goes back to kind of the dropping the ball too from the civil rights and human rights movements, right?
Yeah.
Because we marched, we had Black Panthers, tried the militant way. We marched, you know, we had boycotts. And I do think boycotting is on to something though,
Nah,
because
boycotting works. I think boycotting works. Whenever you mess with somebody's money,
yeah,
whenever you affect their paycheck, like, you can really get somebody's attention.
you
So
gonna
boycott,
ruffle their feathers. You take their money away, you gonna ruffle their feathers,
yeah. But we
right?
gotta be selective about it. We can't make boycotting a fad though. You know?
I agree. I agree. I agree. It's the execution, but that's to your point. We need a plan,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and we need to execute, and we need to continuously monitor and follow up on these people. And that goes back to the voting thing too, though, because
Right.
so and also our just combined plan of action, right? I think protesting works. There,
Mhm.
there's some question mark. There are valid question marks around the more violent and criminal actions that happen, like looting and rioting, right? But they can invoke some action too, or attention. But let's push that to the side. Let's just talk about the peaceful actions, right? Um, or the things that have value, right? You can protest, you can boycott, um, but you can vote. But it's not just voting, it's the pre work that you do to vote. It's also the action to vote, but it's also what we all don't do. And follow me here. What we don't do is hold people accountable. We don't
Mhm.
monitor, we don't do our research after the fact, because there are what? General assemblies, there are sessions, there are forums, there are group meetings, there are many things that are held. There are voting sessions that happen on a normal day to day or whatever frequency that we are not paying attention to. We're all busy existing. We're not following up with what these people in these elected seats are doing on the daily basis to decide how our lives will be. And that's whether or not we're looking at the stats or the decisions that are made online that's publicly available, because we're all busy existing, right? And that's all of us. That's not just the Black community. That's all of us. Like, we're all lazy citizens. We don't follow up. We don't know what's happening. Because look at the basic concept of budgeting. At the local level, at the state level, there are budgets. Are we paying attention to that? Are we going to those sessions? Are we watching it? Are we looking at the end results? We aren't, because when you look at these budgets and you look at, people said they talked about defunding the police, right?
Right.
Defunding law enforcement. I had to look up defunding because most words literally have multiple meanings, or some meaning with the variance in them. So defunding can mean to blatantly remove funding, right, or resources, but it can also mean reallocating the funds, which means you could be limiting or reallocating it. So you got to be specific when you're talking about defunding and what that means. But when you look at these budgets, oh my gosh, I just started to look at some budgets. Why are like if you're looking at a bar graph, right? So a horizontal bar graph, why is education here? Why
Right.
why is housing here? Why is infrastructure here? But this is policing or law enforcement. This is your bar graph.
It's ridiculous.
And we are literally so lazy, and I'm just going to call it what it is. We're all so lazy existing that we're not paying attention to this after, even if we vote. Even if we vote, we're so lazy that we're not paying attention to that. They're passing these ridiculous budgets that are dictating our lives, and it's actually affecting and keeping the cycle going within our own impoverished communities. And that's not just specific to the Black community. That's to the economic battle for everybody.
Yes, 100%. And it's the same thing at the federal level. You know how big the military budget is.
I can't discuss this.
My bad. But look,
you can, I can't.
yeah. But I'm just saying, like you know how big the military budget is. Same thing at the federal level. For me, it all goes back to, how can I? Like, I get it. You're right. We are lazy. We are preoccupied with me syndrome, right? I call it me syndrome.
Yeah.
Like, what's in it for me? What's happening to me? Like, it's all about me. If it ain't about me, then I get to it later whenever I get to it. After I vote, I did what I can do. I got to go back to raising my kids. I got to go back to earning my paycheck. I got to go back to, being a brother, sister, mother, aunt, uncle, whatever the case may be, right? Co-worker. So I get it. But if I really, like, if I'm living paycheck to paycheck, it's hard for me to spend that much time on politics. So I get it. That's why, for me, again, economic empowerment is so huge to me, because once you don't have to worry about that, you can afford to spend more time paying attention, so that your day-to-day life isn't so. I call it modern day slavery. You're going to work to pay bills. You're going to work to pay bills, and you feel bad about taking a vacation.
Think about this. You're right there. Think about this. I mentioned the word exist, right? And I said lazily existing. But we're literally, to your point, we're literally working to exist. We are not working to live.
Right. Exactly. And that's why I'm like, all right, something's got to give. And it's an indictment on the way the country it's an indictment on capitalism when you really think about it. Because the way the society is built, the way capitalism is built, I get it. There's a middle class, supposedly, and then there's a working class. But the truth of the matter is, in a capitalistic society, there's capitalism and there's the working class.
Yep.
Nothing else by definition. So, I get it. It feels good to say I'm upper middle class. I make $200,000 a year, but you also bought $2 million house. You know what I'm saying? So,
and now your house cold.
Right. So it's like, I get it, but you're still middle. If you can't afford to take off half a year and still receive a paycheck, then you're part of the working class. I'm sorry. And that's not to say that's a bad thing. There are people who are part of the working class that are doing really, really, really good for themselves, and they're just about to become a capitalist. You know what I mean? For example, or you're able to actually save a nest egg. Like, I'm so thankful that I'm sure you're the exact same way. I know you are. So you're able to have that nest egg where you can, if you fall on hard times, you're good to go. Family's gonna be taken care of. But not everybody is like that. You know what I mean? But I still consider myself part of the working class. Like, I'm still struggling out here, even though
we still are. To your point, that 1% and don't get to that 10%, but that 1% that leaves 99%. So the 99% of us are the working class.
Yeah, man, and it's like, and it's one of those things where, I really, it's one of those things where, you treat people like you want to be treated. So if I can't, if you can't afford to look into it and stay on top of it, or you can't afford to, or you can't think of a way to do anything about it, then I'm gonna try to do it for you. You know what I mean? Because that's what I would want you to do for me. So I'm gonna do it for you. And I feel like once we solve that economic issue, then we can afford to actually, we'll have the peace of mind and be able to get into position to affect change, so that we don't see those budgets where teachers are getting paid $35,000-$40,000 a year when they have the future of this country in their hands. Literally. You know what I'm saying? Like it drives me crazy. Think about policing, right?
And those teachers paying out of their own
out of their own pockets,
out of their pocket for school supplies.
Bro, books falling apart, and like, come on, man. This is the future of the country right now. And even, but you think about policing, man. Think about it. Think about the fact that you have to go out and put your life on the line. You're expected to put your life on the line, not necessarily because somebody's doing something wrong, but you could be trying to pull a cat out of a burning building, you know what I'm saying? Or an old lady out of a burning building or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So you're expected to go. I know that's for firefighter jobs, but sometimes police officers get there first and they're expected to do those types of things. So you get my point, though. Like, you're expected to put your life on the line in certain situations.
Yeah, first responder.
Yeah, you're a first responder, right? So the fact that the starting salary, even in like one of the best counties in the highest paying counties in the country, like Fairfax, you know what I'm saying, starting salary for a police officer is what, 50, 55, 60,000 a year, somewhere in that range. That's not a lot of money when you think about it. You live
especially when you consider the cost of living in that area.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you got to really be making $100,000 a year in order to live comfortably in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. You know what I'm saying? Like, as an individual without like a family or nothing like that. So, for me, it's like, if you could pay a police officer, say, starting 80, 90 in an area like this, starting out, don't you think you could attract more solid individuals into that profession if you actually paid them better?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
same thing for teachers.
Right. Like, I care.
I might actually be a teacher if they were starting, if the starting salary was that high.
I wanted to be a math teacher. That was my best subject in high school, man. I was like, I'm going. My major was math when I went to Hampton. Matter of fact, I switched it to accounting. You know what I mean? So I wanted to be a math teacher. I was like, shoot, that's my best subject. Why not? I could teach. If that salary was starting to $80,000-$90,000, I most certainly would have been in somebody's high school right now teaching geometry or something. You know what I'm saying?
Frankly, because to be specific, you said starting salary. Quite frankly, I think cost of living has increased over time. So I get saying 80,000, but I probably would have accepted a teaching job out of Hampton let's go back in time, right? Let's say the 2006 value of the dollar.
I got you.
In 2006, I probably would have taken the route of teaching had it matched my consulting industry dollars or salary. So I started out making 50, 55K. If that would have been the starting salary then for teachers,
dude, that's a great salary coming out of college. You know what I'm saying?
I may have taken that route. And then you know what I would have realized? Because when I got into federal or public consulting, I sat there and I was like, it didn't take long for me. Like, I don't feel fulfilled. I don't feel like I'm giving that impact, right? But had I been a teacher, I would have immediately. And that's why I'm glad about, I'm a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, yo. But like, I'm glad that I was a part of that organization and also my church, because we were giving back to the community. And that's where I gained my fulfillment. And I got a lot of experience there. And I'm getting chills again, because that's where my heart is really giving back and impacting the community. And we
Yeah.
did that Kappa and through the church.
Nice. But yeah, man, I'm let's go ahead and wrap things up. You know, I gotta get ready to work in the morning. Try to hold myself accountable, even though I'm just waking up, drinking some coffee. And speaking of, man, I should have been the one that I'm about to come out with a coffee maker, man. I just bought a Keurig machine. You know what I'm saying? So I can have my coffee. I got tired of cleaning up coffee grounds every morning with the
Yeah.
conventional coffee makers, but you know, I'm loving that thing. But
speaking of that, I got to put you on to one of my one of the Black small businesses that I know, Mocha Black Coffee.
They make K cups?
No, so I know you say you're trying to get away from the ground beans and stuff like that, but like in the message you have to deal with. But no, so one of my big brothers, he definitely is a partner within the Mocha Box company.
Okay.
So shout out to Mocha Box Coffee, Mocha Box Coffee, Black owned business, and they're definitely doing well with ground beans and definitely the coffee market. I'm not a coffee drinker, but you just brought it up, so I wanted to.
Man. I'll support. Yeah, I'll support, man. I still got my regular coffee maker too. Shoot.
Yeah.
I'm a big car. I got to start my day, and plus, you know, there's some actually some health benefits for to drinking coffee. So, you know, I'm not gonna shy away from it. It's a lot healthier than what I used to drink. You know, all the latte. Just give me regular plain black coffee, no cream, no sugar, no nothing. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, man, I appreciate the conversation. You know, listen, if you guys feel free to comment, subscribe, share our content. If you want to add to the conversation, we're going to be going live on Wednesdays. So, you know, we'll be on YouTube and Facebook, whichever one you prefer, but we're going to be live. So come in, join the conversation. You know, we might bring you in on on the conversation as well. So, you know, make sure you're not, you know, you ain't got your bonnet on or, or something.
If you do, you do. I mean, it's about
what it is.
And honestly, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because we will have recorded drops, but we will also have the live sessions, and we're going to make this will be interactive. So we may, like Kelvin said, we may bring you in, come as you are, as your church says.
Come as you are.
Yeah. So we're going to be interactive within the comments, be interactive with them bringing you in and pulling you into the live stream as well.
Yeah, absolutely. At the end of the day, we just want to have real conversations and try to come up with some viable solutions. You know what I mean? And I think you saw a couple of those examples today. So we appreciate you for watching, and we'll see you next month. We'll see you on Wednesday live, and then if not, we'll see you next Monday.
All right, definitely. Thanks, everybody.
This is By Any Means. We out.